You ever had somebody stand in your driveway at 7 in the morning demanding you hand over your car because God told them it was theirs? Yeah, that happened to me, and not just any car, but my undercover federal SUV, disguised just enough to fool your average suburban looky-loo, but if you knew what to look for, you'd spot the tells. And the woman screaming in my face. She wasn't just any neighbor, she was Amy Roberts, the self-appointed divine compensation Karen of the neighborhood, and her story makes every other HOA nightmare look like amateur hour. Let me back up a sec, because trust me, nobody expects to wind up in the middle of a viral HOA circus for just doing their job. About 6 months earlier, the feds flagged Amy's spending. Not that she was living large, just that her patterns matched the kind of folks who get swept up in family fraud schemes. Her mother, Patricia Evans, had run a federal contractor scam, swiped 200 grand, and faked her own death 3 years ago, leaving the whole town to gossip about it, and her daughter to cash in on the insurance. Only thing is, Amy seemed clueless. She was living off that life insurance, sure, but as far as anyone could tell, she actually believed her mother was gone, never knowing that Patricia had also convinced someone to drain 15 grand from the local HOA emergency fund. So they sent me an undercover. My job, quiet surveillance, blend in, see if Amy was complicit, close the file, and get out. Instead, the first thing I got was Amy herself storming across my lawn in full morning regalia, pajamas, slippers, hair a mess, clutching a folder thick with paperwork, and a righteous fury that could melt asphalt. "That's my divine compensation car," she shouted, arms out, the kind of conviction that can't be faked. God sent it to replace Mama's stolen life. I'd handled unstable folks before, people, deep in their own private universes, but Amy was something else. This wasn't a performance, and it wasn't manipulation. She genuinely, utterly believed it. So I tried, "Calm, ma'am, this is my personal work vehicle, and I'm not giving it to anyone but Amy," just ratcheted up the drama. "Government vehicle, murdered my mother at the intersection. Give it to me as blood debt payment." She called 911 right there, explaining to the dispatcher that a man was refusing to surrender the divine compensation vehicle. Meanwhile, Tom Riley, the ex-federal contractor across the street, turned investigative blogger, was filming the whole thing from his window, probably hoping for the next viral clip for his fraud blog. I could see him getting antsy, hands shaking. The guy knew how to spot a federal fleet car under civilian plates, and I knew right then my cover was starting to look thin. Then there was Eleanor Clark next door, ex-Department of the Interior, retired, but still sharp as a tack. She never said a word, but you could tell she recognized the dance. Her body language shifted, little nods of support whenever Amy got heated, subtle moves to let me know I had an ally if things went sideways. 10 minutes and Officer Ryan Patel rolls up every inch the poster boy for federal law enforcement dreams, starched uniform, military precision. He gives Amy the speech, "HOA presidents can't commandeer private vehicles, not even with divine authority." And Amy just waves her paperwork and starts citing the Constitution, or at least her version of it. "I have community safety authority," she insists, as if that means she's now the law. But what Amy didn't know, what none of them knew, was that every word, every fake document, every threat, I was documenting it all. 25 years of investigations will do that to you. And the real kicker, Amy wasn't a criminal. Not really. She was just caught in the crosshairs of her mother's elaborate fraud, grieving a woman who'd skipped town with a mountain of stolen cash. Amy clung to those lies like lifelines, her mom's closed casket funeral, the shrine she kept in the living room, the story she'd told herself every night for 3 years. Meanwhile, Patricia Evans, now Patricia Valdez, was running a retirement business in Mexico, living it up and posting fresh start selfies while her daughter tried to avenge a death that never happened. The next morning, Amy returned, binder in hand, new official documents, laminated, color-coded, stamped with fake HOA seals. "As president with emergency authority, I declare this vehicle subject to community seizure." She taped her homemade notice to my windshield with more ceremony than Martin Luther at the church door. It would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. Tom Riley, now deep in blog research, had found holes in the official story. No federal death benefits, no survivor payments, no database record of Patricia dying, just a suspiciously inactive status update 6 months prior. His blog was about to explode. Patel came back this time with paperwork of his own, and when Amy tried handing over her seizure order, he handled it like it was radioactive. Ma'am, HOAs have no confiscation authority, and these documents, well, let's just say there are irregularities. Amy wasn't hearing any of it. "You don't understand the scope of my divine authority," she cried, waving neighbor letters, community safety reports, and hand-drawn accident diagrams. Eleanor started quietly snapping photos. 25 years in government taught her how to build an evidence file, and she was assembling one with time-stamped photos, notes, everything the prosecutors would need if this spiraled further. And spiral it did. By that night, Amy, dressed like a stealth ninja, crept into my driveway with a can of spray paint and a mission. "This is for you, Mama," she whispered, and proceeded to graffiti. H.A. President Amy Divine Justice blood debt, across the hood damage totaling over $5,000. Every second was captured on my security cams. Now this was no longer local nuisance. It was a federal felony, and Amy was handing me the evidence on a silver platter. At the same time, Tom Riley's blog was catching fire. His contractor fraud audience ballooned from 50 to 68,000 overnight people hungry for every bizarre detail of the divine compensation Karen case. But Tom was on to something way bigger. He found Patricia alive, thriving in Mexico, running seminars called Leaving Your Past Behind and posting about paradise living, all funded by stolen federal and HOA money. Maria Lopez, the HOA treasurer, finally broke down. She'd helped Patricia move that $15,000, believing it was for a medical emergency. She came to Tom in tears, her secret eating her alive. Everything Patricia did was planned with cruel precision: steal from the government, steal from the community, stage her own death, leave her daughter to grieve an empty casket, and then disappear to build a new life. Now, Tom had the story of a lifetime, but he also held the power to destroy Amy completely, or maybe save her from federal prison by revealing the truth. Thursday morning, Amy stepped out in her mother's funeral dress, crowbar in hand, ready for divine seizure, in front of 9,000 live viewers on Tom's stream. She declared, "By divine authority and my power as HA president, I claim this compensation car for the community." That was my cue. I walked up, flashed my federal badge to the camera, and revealed the truth. My real identity, the real case, the whole scope of Patricia's fraud. Amy's world shattered in front of 9,000 witnesses. Tom dropped the final bomb: Patricia's live retirement site, her selfies, her new identity. Maria confessed her role in the HOA theft. Amy collapsed, sobbing on the pavement in her funeral dress, every layer of her reality stripped away in real time. Officer Patel showed up, documented the scene like a pro, and Amy was arrested on live stream: property destruction, impersonating authority, harassment, fraud. The neighborhood, once just a backdrop for Amy's drama, became the case study for how grief can be weaponized and fake authority can spiral into federal crime. 18 months later, the neighborhood looked different. The house where Amy built shrines was now home to the Thompsons, real federal workers with real service, their vehicles parked exactly where Amy's graffiti had once screamed divine justice. The memorial park, funded by Patricia's restitution, helped other fraud victims. The SUV Amy vandalized had been repaired and now bore a community protection hero plate. Tom's blog had become required reading for fraud prevention. Maria became an advocate for financial transparency. Eleanor helped protect federal employees nationwide. And Officer Patel finally made federal agent his dreams realized through the most bizarre case of his career. Amy's mother, caught teaching retirement seminars in Mexico, oblivious to the chaos she'd unleashed. Her stolen money now funds grief counseling and fraud prevention, and Amy, out on probation, passing her old house every day, is a living reminder of how lies can poison everything they touch. So here's the question. What would you do if your neighbor's dead parent showed up posting vacation selfies online? Would you tell them or let them live the lie? Drop your story in the comments. Trust me, I read every single one. Maybe we didn't learn anything, or maybe we learned everything. Either way, hit that like button. And if you've ever tangled with an HOA president on a mission from God, you're in good company.